Hi, it's Stephanie with the Mason Method for Natural Childbirth. Today, I'm going to share with you my #1 tip that I always tell women who are wanting a natural childbirth. So we have a lot of tips and tricks when it comes to natural childbirth, but what I'm about to share, I truly believe can be a deciding factor in whether a woman has a natural birth or ends up with a medicated childbirth. So my #1 tip when it comes to natural childbirth is not knowing your dilation number once you go into active labor. So just to refresh, your dilation number is the number of centimeters that your cervix dilates. So it goes from 0 to 10. So why is it so important not to know your dilation number when you're in active labor? So when I went into labor with my first son, I was in labor for 24 hours. And it wasn't a typical labor where contractions came on periodically. I'd have a couple an hour and then they'd become a little more frequent. I literally was having contractions every 2 minutes all day long. It was pretty intense. So I had an appointment with my OB scheduled previously before I even had gone into labor. So I went in and he did check me there and he did tell me that I was at 3 centimeters, and this was right around, I'd say 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I should mention that I started my labor at 2 a.m. that morning. So from 2 a.m. to 1 p.m., I was at 3 centimeters. Well, 5 o'clock rolled around. I didn't notice much difference. I still pretty much felt the same that I did when I was at the doctor's office. Then around 10 o'clock at night, the mood shift, things got really intense. So my husband and I decided it's time to get to the hospital. So we got to the hospital, I got checked in, got settled into my room. In our birth plan, we were very clear that we didn't want to know the dilation number. And by the time we got there, settled in, it was probably about midnight, and then my son came at 2 a.m. So after my son was delivered, things settled down, the nurse came back in to check on us. My husband actually asked, hey, that one time you checked my wife, what was her dilation number? And she said it was still a 3. So if you could imagine, you're in labor, I was in labor all day long, from 2 a.m. at this point, it's almost midnight, and I've literally been at a 3 all day. If I would have known that when I got to the hospital, there is no way, mentally, physically, I would have been able to handle that. I would have thought, oh my gosh, I have like at least another full day of this. I would have been, no way. Little did I know that I went from a 3 to a 10 in literally under 20 minutes. My son came, I had a very short push phase. It was probably under 30 minutes. So it was that fast that I went from a 3 to a 10. So knowing the number doesn't mean that if you're stuck at a 3, you're gonna have days and days of labor. So I just wanna emphasize that labor, as much as it is a physical challenge, it is so much more of a mental challenge. In fact, in our online course, we have a whole module called Mind Power that gives you exercises and tips and tricks on how to get through the mental aspect of labor. So remember, once you're in labor, don't find out that dilation number. Keep that a secret until after baby is here, and then you can find out where you were when you got into the hospital. For more great tips and information, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.